how many of your ideas came from putting good information in your brain, letting it bake a little bit, and then it clicked for you? See, when you don't read and you don't put the proper things into your brain, you are at default of what the world puts in your brain.
Dude, Andy, this is a pleasure for me. I got a full confession. I just kind of finished 75 hard, but I didn't, and so I'm not saying I did. And what happened is I did the 75 hard. I've been wanting to do it forever because, frankly, I needed an excuse to get off alcohol for 75 days. Mm-hmm. And I got to day like 65 and I had hair surgery. Mm-hmm. And you can't sweat for like a week. Oh. And so I couldn't do my workout. So I'm like at day like 66 or something, I had to stop. But so I owe you to do another 75 hard. But what a cool thing.
Let me know when you're going to do it. I'll do it with you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm going to do it again next year because for me, I went from, and what it was is I went from 18% body fat down to 12, the best shape I've been in my whole life. Yeah. And it's really cool because as I listened to you over the years, what that whole concept is win the day, right? And that's kind of the concept, and what I kind of took out of it was you focus on what you can do today, but you have to do these things every single day, and that's why you can't miss a day. I just thought it was the coolest thing, man. And even, when I was telling people I was coming out to do this podcast, most people know who you are. Those that don't, they all know what 75 hard is. Yeah. It's just, it really is like in a world where people aren't doing things that truly make a difference for your health. I don't know anything that's affected more people that I know than just that challenge of 75 hard.
Yeah, man, it's been cool. When I started putting this out, it was, look, man, I've been a student of how to become mentally tough for a long time because I wasn't. Okay, I was the guy who couldn't follow through. I could never understand why certain people could go on a diet and follow it, right? Or say they're going to do something and do it. And I couldn't make it through 3 days without cheating on my diet. I couldn't figure it out. And this is for years and years and years. And so I took all of the things that I learned that I thought mattered to when I was performing highest, right? And I combined them all into one day, all right? I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And I invited the world to do it with me. I did it live on my show. I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. You could do it with me. It was never intended to turn into the movement it's turned into, ever. It was more so, hey, I'm going to become the best I am, and you guys can follow me. And a bunch of people were like, fuck yeah, I'm in. And they did it, and then it just took off from there.
Well, and it's cool. And I always say, like, the reason you set a goal like that to do something like 75 hard, it's not to accomplish the thing. It's who you have to become to accomplish the thing, right? And so, like, for me, I was like, because of the integrity around the challenge itself, I'm not posting that I finished it. But damn it, that was the best thing I've done for my own, building myself who I needed to be again. Because you forget those little things too. I think that's one of the problems where people get in today is like, in life, you either have to change yourself or you have to make everything else wrong. Mm-hmm. I think so many people just try to make the world wrong, or they try to make, all these other things. When in reality, if the answer is always, the empowering answer is always to look inward. Because the second you start thinking somebody else's fault or you need somebody else to fix you, you've given away your power to actually fix the thing.
Yeah, dude. And what's funny is the people, like, it's so funny how many people try to change the rules of 75 hard, and they aren't aware enough to understand that what you just said is exactly what's making them think they should change the rules. People are so accustomed to changing the circumstances to be to their liking, which is why they cannot operate in the real world. In the real world, we don't get to change the weather. We don't get to change the circumstances. We don't get to change the rules a lot of times. And this is why people are weak, because we want to make things easier. We want to make things more convenient. We want to make things more pleasurable. And in doing so, we weaken ourselves, right? Because we're dulling our edge to where we can't go out in the real world and actually compete with the way things really are, because in the real world, you can't do those things and you get stomped on. And so the best thing about the program is exactly what you said. It's who you have to become to actually accomplish that. And one of the things that really clicks for people, especially on the fitness aspect, because there's a strong fitness undertone to it. When you start thinking of everything as a mental challenge instead of a physical challenge, right? Like when you want to change, like when people want to lose 100 pounds or whatever, right? And they think of it like, oh, I want to lose 100 pounds because I want to look nicer, or I want to feel better, or I want to be more healthy. That just isn't the same level of motivation as saying, hey, I'm going to sharpen and toughen my brain to a point where I can accomplish fucking anything. And that is what 75 Hard helps people realize. So when you flip the idea from I want to lose some weight to, hey, that food, that alcohol, that workout, that doesn't have fucking power over me. I have power over it. Now you're fixing a whole bunch of other issues in your life that you didn't even know you had, right? And so that's why the magic of the program is really what it does is it brings awareness to your own soft points in your life and allows you to see them very clearly and address them. Go ahead.
Well, no, it was one of the cool things that happened for me is because people accuse me of being more busy than like lazy, right? Like I'm too busy, and so I'm always doing stuff. And even taking the 10 pages of reading a book, because I used to read 100 books a year before podcasts and all these other things to listen to, right? When I was coming up,
that's incredible.
I read a book every 2 to 3 days, man. That's 2-3 hours a night. That's what I was doing. If I would go on a vacation, the whole plane ride, I'm reading a book. And I forgot just how much that calmed me, and it was just to be still and not be on my phone and not being stimulated, not 24/7, just sitting there and getting into a book. And I was like, damn, like I haven't been doing this nearly as much as I needed to. And it was like, for me, it was just another twist. It was like, I would not have seen this. I thought I was pretty dialed in on all that, because you listen to audiobooks and you listen to podcasts and everything, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing good. I'm getting fed. I'm feeding the funnel, you know? And it was like, oh no, I need to just be still sometimes. And
that's
so
right.
Even for that sake.
Bro, and think about too, as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, think about how much, and this is why it's so important for you guys out there who are business, career-minded entrepreneurs, you're wanting to kick ass in life. Listen to this. When you, and I want you to tell me what you think.
Sure.
How many of your ideas came from putting good information in your brain, letting it bake a little bit, and then it clicked for you? See, when you don't read and you don't put the proper things into your brain, you are at default of what the world puts in your brain. So you have to be intentional about especially as a success-driven individual, you have to be intentional about what information you put in your brain. And we hear about this all the time, right? Oh, be positive and look, man, that shit sounds good. But the truth of the matter is you should be working to be effective and productive. And so what happens is when you start to read nonfiction material, right, that is practical to whatever it is you're doing, because I've read thousands of books as well. The thing is that every fucking great idea I've ever had, every single thing I've learned, not everything. I learned some things from my dad and from other guys like you.
You learn it from people, from travel, or from books, essentially. I mean, that's really what you can do.
The main thing I've learned from is books. And the main reason I was able to learn from wasn't because the book told me exactly what to do, but because it put the seed in my brain for these things to sprout. Right? I can't tell you how many times I read my 10 pages and, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm done, and then maybe a day or two goes by and I'm like, that is that. And people think, oh, dude, where'd you come up with this shit? Dude, it's no secret.
Well, people always ask me, they're like, because marketing is one thing that I'm really well known for in my community, right? Like, I, as a realtor, became like pretty well known by everyone in the entire state of Utah as a realtor. Like, it's hard to do.
Bro, I knew who you were before I met you. Like, I knew who you were, you know?
What I did, though, and what the genius of what I did was, all I did was I would study books about successful people and successful companies, and I'd read their autobiography, I'd read their story, I'd find out what they did, and you just get these ideas left and right. And then traveling, by doing that, you see the way they do this thing in whatever, you know, in Switzerland, or they do this way in Holland, and all of a sudden you're like pulling these ideas and my mind's just going nuts. But dude, well, it's quite an interesting time. Like we were talking about, you know, before we started on the podcast. One thing I love about you, Andy, is you've found your audience, you're super authentic, and so people respond to that. And there's this myth out there that we have to play down, that we have to placate to like both sides of this, you know, these people. But the reality is you never find out who really likes you. You never really find your tribe when you're trying to be something to everybody, because you're nothing to anybody. And so one thing I've appreciated about you that you've been harping on is like, it's time to speak up. Like people need to actually get loud and do something about what's going on.
Yeah, look, first off, I want to address this because this is a very common thing that I see influencers doing, right? So when I post something and let's just say it's opinionated about what's going on in the world, I will get a ton of messages from people who will say, dude, can't tell you how much I appreciate you for speaking up. I know you get a lot of hate for it. I want to address that. I do not get a lot of hate for the things I say. I get 100 positive messages for every single negative one. 100 for every single one negative. And yes, I do get messages that are irritating, but I don't care. Those are not my people, all right? And so many people are afraid to take any sort of stance that they ride the fence. And when you ride the fence, here's what happens. You become a slave to these people's opinions that will never actually even be your customer because you're afraid of it. Okay? So then what that causes is a water down of your message to your core audience, which means you're going to be less effective. Here's what people don't understand. I've been saying this for literally a decade. Guys, you do not have a chance to get 100% of the business. You're going to get 50% of the business at most. This is no different than politics. You're going to have the left-thinking people and you're going to have the right-thinking people. It's just the way it shakes out, okay? You are far better to serve the 50% of the people that have the propensity to like you, okay, and working to make them love you and leading those people than you ever are trying to fish in this pond of people who just automatically, for whatever reason, just don't like you. Okay? You have to accept that that's the way it is. And so people out there, there's so many people that are hitting me up and they're saying, because there is, and dude, here's a good thing. A lot of people are starting to understand what we're talking about because it's getting louder, right? But being loud isn't the only thing that has to happen. We have to get involved, okay? The reason we're in this situation that we're in America, in my opinion, is that guys like you and I in our age bracket and women in our age bracket have been so focused on executing on their American dream that they have forgotten about their duty to America, okay? We have a duty to America that goes beyond just using it for our own benefit. We have to get involved in our communities. We have to get involved in our local school boards. We have to know what's going on at school. We have to know what's going on in our towns. And those things, it's like everybody wants some one person to come in and fix all of this. That's just not how it's going to happen.
Well, one cool thing that I wanted to talk to you about this because my tattoo says "We are the they."
That's right.
That's my motto in life.
Yeah.
And what it is I used to, I was going undercover and I was helping rescue kids who were being sex trafficked. I came back from one of the operations and my girlfriend at the time pulled over. I was telling her about the op. It was super dangerous. She's like, hey, I don't want you to go do this anymore. Like, it's super dangerous. It's a bad environment. I was like, well, I know, but this is speaking to my soul. She goes, I know, but why can't they just go do it? And I said, there is no they. We are the they. And when I said that, Andy, like, just my entire body tingled. Like, holy shit, we are the they. Yeah. And it's like, so it's exactly what you're saying. You've been posting it a lot, and I'm like, man, this is so cool.
We have a saying
right with my message.
We have a saying around here that we use that, and we say it literally at almost every meeting. If not us, then who?
Then who?
It's the same concept.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, dude.
And that's what people need to know is like, I a couple years ago, about a year and a half ago, there was a kid in Utah that was a black kid from Haiti, adopted. He was getting bullied. Some people had thrown a bunch of shit on his car. And anyway, long story short, I read this article in the paper before I went to bed. I was just reading online and somebody tweeted about it or whatever. And I go to the article, there's 150 comments of people saying how bad this is. Somebody has to do something about this. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, shit, like, and I thought of my motto, right? We are the they. And I thought, well, shit, I could do something about this. Yes. And I literally was like, all right, I know enough influential people. I got on the phone, I called every athlete, every influencer I knew. I said, this is what's going on. We're going to help this kid. I set up a Facebook page. I had over 50 people donate some kind of prize or gift or something to him, businesses, individuals, whatever. We had a party set up at his school for him. Donovan Mitchell got him front row tickets. Rudy Gobert paid for, gave him his shoes. This kid literally changed the whole dynamic, changed the whole story. And here's the point of it is this kid hit me up and he goes, hey, how did you get put in charge of all that? And I said, what do you mean get put in charge? I didn't get put in charge of shit. I just decided to do something. I took charge. Yes. And so that's, I think so many people are like, wait, how do you even start that? How do you get put in charge of that? It's like, if you're listening to this, like, just do it. Like, the ideas will come to you. You'll see things that need to be fixed or things that you can work on. Just go and do those things.
Dude, that's it. Right now, we are and this is just my opinion, and you're free to disagree, anybody listening. But we are where we are because there's been a generation of apathetic leadership. Yeah. That's just the truth. We can blame these far crazy lefts. We can blame these far crazy rights. We can say whatever the fuck we want. But at the end of the day, if you haven't done anything, it's your fault. That's it, okay? So we have to understand as Americans, as people, especially as successful people who are driven to be leaders, okay? we need to understand that leadership is not just in our business, it's in our communities, it's in our own house, it's in our own network. And when we start taking that seriously again, we will fucking turn this around. It's just going to take some time. Yeah. You know, everybody's looking for the savior to come and fix all of it. Guys,
no one's coming.
No one is coming, right? Like, and if someone does come, I'm glad to eat my words. But the truth is, we don't know of anybody coming. I don't know of anybody coming. I don't believe anybody's coming. So let's get to work.
When people forget, like, the country wasn't built by one leader. Yeah, we celebrate certain leaders that are on our dollar bills, but like, if you've actually studied the history books, you've read about it, it was the thousands and thousands of names millions of names you're never going to hear.
Yes.
They were just building. They were building community. They were building love with you, you know, and those are the people that really set this country up, and that's who this country is. And that's why when you hear of Americana, when you feel it, the spirit of it, you know it's still there. I think we just forget that. We keep thinking, you know, and it's such a disempowering thing to like think somebody's gonna come save you. It's so disempowering to be like, well, if this side wins, then we'll be okay, right? Like Bill Burr said it best when Trump won office and everybody was freaking out. And he's like, dude, does he put a sandwich on your table? Did Obama come do that for you? He doesn't, you do that. Like, you're the person that decides what your life is going to be about.
Yeah, unfortunately, I believe we've gotten to a point where some of these external decisions are going to affect our life. Yeah. You know, inflation's going crazy, spending's going crazy. A working class dollar is not going to go as far as it did a year ago or 2 years ago, because people decided they would rather have that than have someone that they didn't like personally. Yeah. And that's an irresponsible decision in my opinion. We need leadership, we need strong leadership, and we need to, as Americans, stop electing leaders who are able to be bought, period. You know?
It's crazy that they can actually do, like, just the other day I was like watching how Trump came out and said, get the vaccine. It kind of threw me off for a second. And then I was studying into it a little bit. I was like, oh, his biggest donors are all the pharmacy, big pharma.
Pfizer gave him $2.5 million.
You start thinking about it, you're like, oh, like, yeah, of course that's who he's going to take.
Yeah, but also too, like, we're not going to agree with, like, a lot of people are trashing him for that. And by the way, I am very much so, I'm not an anti-vax person. I am an anti-that vax.
I'm anti taking my choice away from me whether I can get vaccinated. I'm vaccinated for other things. I'm the same way. And I think there's well, they've just screwed up their message, right? Like, they've made it this whole political thing and all these other things. It's like, look, the second you start forcing us to do things, the second that, you know, this kid can start yelling at me in the gas station because I have my mask on, and that kid is in the right and I'm in the wrong, like, I'm going to dig my heels in. And that's like, people like us aren't going to put up with.
They've created that on purpose. That's a purposeful creation. All of this shit that we've been going through the last 2 years has been created on purpose for an agenda. And that's what people don't understand. They think that this shit that happened in fucking Taliban or in Afghanistan, that's not an accident. No. It's not an accident, okay? And so you have to start asking yourself, what's the reason? What's the reason they gave away, $80 billion of military equipment? What's the reason they pulled these people out with no notice? What are the reason for all these things? What is the reason for these mandates? If you start asking yourself what's the reason and not just gobbling it up like some, zombie, like, dude, it'll start to scare you.
Yes.
You know, and we look at Australia, they're building, camps to take people and put them there. Like, what does that sound like to you guys? You know, we're in a dangerous time, and it really ultimately comes down to, it still comes down to what I said a minute ago. We have taken our eye off the fucking game, and we need to start putting people and demanding people serve office that are quality humans. These people that are serving us are not the cream of the crop. Everybody thinks they're the cream of the crop because they won an election. No, the cream of the crop people are out building, employing, creating, okay? They're using the capitalist nature of our society to maximize their own lives. And that's great. But the thing is those people have to start taking their eyes back to the soil, right? We wouldn't be able to cultivate those lives and grow those lives if we didn't have this fertile soil called America, right? And so we have to start taking an interest. And whether that be using your platform, or whether that be showing up at the PTA meeting and making your voice known, or whether that be going to the city council, this is not a complicated problem to solve. It's very simple if everybody just does their part.
Well, and I love you posted the other day the clip from Ants, right?
Yeah.
Because you got the grasshoppers are like taking over and they're just ruthless. I mean, it was so poignant to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And it's like if the one ant stands up, then all of a sudden it gives permission for everybody else to.
Yeah.
By the way, I heard you got shadow banned for that.
Oh yeah, I got shadow. Dude, That's
insanity.
I have said so much shit about everything going on since day one. Like, dude, okay, and this goes for all you guys like afraid to stand up. There's a lot of people who stood up early that took all the bullshit for you. I'm one of them, okay? I'm gonna be real. When I first started saying this shit, I got blasted. I got blasted by my own people. You're irresponsible. You don't know what you're talking about. Now, every single thing I've said over the last year and a half has become fucking true, and I can kept the receipts. Go listen to my podcast. Every motherfucking thing I said, okay? So I say these things because I see them, not because I want to gain from it, or I'm not running for office, right? Like, I'm a business owner. I'm afraid for the country.
Well, the thing is like you, of all people, I mean, you've made it. You could not say a word and have a beautiful life and not worry about everybody else. But and here's what I was thinking, Andy, like watching,
I can't sit by and watch that.
Being here in your building today, you have an American flag that's the exact size of your original office, 800 square feet, right? You talked about, you have a barber shop here because the guy that, your original shop, the guy next to you was the barber that was buying your first protein bars when no one else was.
Yeah.
You know how hard it was to build what you have today. And I think that's why you appreciate it so damn much. It's all these people that
you know what? I never thought of it like that.
Oh, it's totally what it is, dude.
I never even thought of it like that. You just pointed something out to me.
That's why you care so bad.
Because I can't figure out why the fuck I care so much.
Because you know the sweat and tears that went into building this. You can't stand to see it. And we talked about this also before we started the podcast. Is you said a lot of your buddies that have started similar companies that are doing everything right. They're getting hammered by all these issues with COVID. Yeah. And that's why it drives you so insane, because you and I can appreciate. I went through the real estate downturn.
Yeah.
I mean, I got you want to get your ass kicked, man. Like that was. I hope it never gets that bad for me again, having to work that hard. But there's so much honor in it, and I appreciate so much more what I have today because I know what it took to get it, right? And so for people like you and I, we could just be like, you know what, fuck the rest of you then. We'll just go do our thing. But that's not an answer, because we know what this was, and we know we can appreciate so much what America's given us, what the country, what just our communities give us. And so for me, it's just really important. Bro. It's really important that people get this, and because we look like the bad guy to so many people, right? Like, I can't believe these guys aren't wearing masks. But it's like I said from day one too.
No, motherfucker, we're fighting for you.
Yes, it's like you can't see what we're doing for you now, but the freedom, and it's like, God, it's like freedom over everything. Like truly, I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. I just wouldn't do it. And I've traveled the world. I've seen these people that don't have freedoms. They are so jealous of Americans because of the freedom. They honor us too, though. Because we give a beacon. Any country around the world, whenever they protest, what do they wave? An American flag, because it stands for true freedom. It's the only place in the history of civilization that has this kind of freedom. And the second you start giving that up, I mean, now it's like literally the college football game I was going to go to, I can't go because they are requiring the vaccine. And it's like, I don't even give a shit about the vaccine. I honest to God don't. Like, whether I have it or not, the point is you can't take away people's rights to choose. Yeah. And the second you start making letting the government do this, it's a slippery freaking slope.
Absolutely. Dude, no, listen. The people who don't understand that, they haven't studied history. Yeah. Okay? The Holocaust back in the 30s and 40s, they didn't just roll up with some trains and say, hey guys, get on. That's not what happened. Yeah. Okay? They branded a certain segment of people unclean, diseased, okay, and outcasts of society. Does that sound?
And blamed them for the problems of everybody.
That's right. Yes. They're making us sick. What do we do with these people? What does that sound like to you?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
I know.
So you guys out there who haven't fully realized what's actually happening, you better wake up now, because it is going to get a lot worse before it gets better, and we are going to need people to stand up and say, hey, fuck that. That's not happening here. Because, dude, who's going to save Australia? Who's going to save France? Who's going to save these people? And a lot of people say, well, fuck them. They're not for guns. No, that's still not right. Those are human beings. Those are human beings that are being oppressed and have no recourse to it right now, other than to run down the street and hope that they can survive it. And, which, dude, if I was them, that's what I'd be calling for it to happen. I mean, this shit's insane.
Well, it's close and it's happening so fast too. Like I read a book called "We Thought We Were Free," and it's about they interviewed people from Germany that were like on the side of the Nazis, right? Because these were not bad people originally. These were not people that were trying to be oppress all the Jews and everything else. And what happened is they said that like they would go for a little thing at first. They'd support something that seemed a little off, but like and then
hoping
a little
it would
bit
go
more,
away,
and then a little bit more, and then all of a sudden they were like, next thing you know, they were tallying on their neighbors for things, and next thing you know, they were turning their neighbors into the government. And before they knew it, by the time they were killing Jews and taking them off to concentration camps, it was like, oh shit, like a lot of them realized like, oh, this has gone too far. But they had already been pushing their agenda that they couldn't even back on their own thing because they'd been supporting this side for so long.
Because if they had went back on their own thing, guess who else would be on the train?
Exactly right.
Dude, it's a dangerous thing. And a lot of people right now, what's actually happening, in my opinion, is that a lot of people have attached their identity to one side or the other, okay? A lot of people have said, you know, in the very beginning, they said, no, this is going to kill everybody. You're a grandma killer. You're this, you're that, you're this. Those people have bought into this shit so hard that they are now, their identity is with that, right? So no matter what they see, no matter what they say, no matter how much evidence presented, it's very difficult for them to come back and say, fuck, I made a mistake. But here's the thing. If you do that, you're actually doing one of the most honorable things you could ever do, because it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of balls, to be completely honest, to say, hey, I fucked up and this is wrong and I stand with this. And you know what? Those people are being embraced, but they won't be forever. So I think we're at a critical time. Because a lot of those people, dude, like, I'm gonna be real with you, like, let's take this back to business. I can tell you my personal view, and this is not, some people are gonna get pissed about this, but I don't care. I will never shop ever again or go to another restaurant ever again that promoted for vaccine identification at the doors. Because those are the same people that would fucking rally around the worst fucking possible outcome for humanity. And they would say, well, it is what it is. They didn't do their thing, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Fuck you. Okay, I'm not with that shit.
I agree 100%. Yeah. I did the $100 dinner club.
I saw that.
It was awesome.
We've
We've been doing that for the last 6-8 months, and and I said the other day on my Instagram, I'm like, please, if these restaurants like actually do this, if they actually say you cannot come in here without a vaccine passport,
it's business suicide.
It is business suicide. I will make sure that I am loud as fuck. Me that too. Everybody that I know knows that is not a place that has your back.
That's right.
Because I had your back. Yeah. When the pandemic hit, I had your back.
That's the thing that's the most ridiculous. Dude, we donated 6 figures here to local companies, local restaurants. So we did this thing, Thursday night dinners, where we would go out, we would pay the restaurant, okay, first Phorm, we would pay the restaurant. Then people would, the first however many dollars we paid, if people ordered dinner, they would be able to go get it for free. Right. Okay? So everybody won. It was our donation. Bro, some of those restaurants that we supported now, they don't even want our business because, or they want to check our vaccine. No. Listen, you guys are head, and here's what's happening. A lot of those, and this is what's really wrong with it. A lot of those restaurants are in such bad shape that they want to be open no matter what. So they're willing to do this, and then they think they're doing something that will help them survive. Guys, you're gonna kill your business, okay? America is now with that. It's 80%, dude, on Yahoo, which is one of the most liberal-minded websites out there, okay? I wouldn't say it's far left, but it's definitely liberal. 80% of Americans polled said they would not support a restaurant or a business that checked vaccines, okay? So you're gonna run your business on 20% of the people? Guys, you're making a bad move business-wise, and it will fucking ruin your life. Because not only will you not be in business, you'll be branded as the person that was for that shit forever. Yeah. And dude, it's sad. It's disgusting, it's sad, and I hope people listen to what I'm saying, because I'm not wrong.
Well, and again, it's trying to help people see, look, you got to look a few turns ahead.
Yes.
You cannot give up your freedoms. Above all else, like what makes life great, what makes America great, what makes being 2021, if you're a minority or a woman or anything, it is the greatest time to be alive of ever in any kind of civilization, is probably still America right now, is with all the issues and everything else. I mean, the freedoms that you have, and the second those all go away, trust me, that's when the real problems are going to come in. I mean, we had to invent problems. I think, and this is what happened a little bit, Andy, is like, it's been so comfortable for the last 20, 30 years. It really has. Yes. I mean, there's been problems that are out of the periphery. There's been problems in Iran or Afghanistan. 95% of people I know can't even show you where Afghanistan is on a map, right? So there's no been these real problems. There really hasn't been. And so people, like, we've created these issues, and now we look to have some kind of problems. You see society has tried to weaken men. That's one thing I love about your message is you're like, no, strong men. I found out that you have, all your employees have to have some kind of workout regimen as part of working here.
Yeah.
I freaking love that because weak men create weak societies, right? They create hard times, as we hear, right? If you have strong men, if you have people that are willing to stand up, and when you know who you are, and this is one of the reasons why when people come at you, I think it doesn't bother you. Yeah. Because when you know where your heart is, when you know your integrity on what you're doing and who you are, you don't give a shit when a random guy on the internet yells at you. Because you have become the asset. You know who you are.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I'm also willing to talk to those people. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't jump in the mud pit with them when they come at me and they say, "Hey, you're a fucking piece of shit for what you think." I said, "Okay, well, which part?" You know what I'm saying? And I'll even make a joke. I'll voice message them back and be like, "All right, bro, I can see you're mad. Which part specifically?" And usually what happens is they'll say, "Bro, I didn't think you were even going to respond." And I said, "Well, I care about you too, even if you hate me." Yeah. And we end up dude, I can't tell you how many times I have had that happen in the last year and a half. DJ knows, he's with me every day, where I end up actually becoming friends with these people. We are so much more alike than we think we are. And the media and social media has created this echo chamber where we all feel alone if we have positive American beliefs. And that it's just not the truth, okay? If you want to look at the data, we can break this data down. 80% of the people, like I just stated, were polled, said they weren't with that shit, right? Okay, now if we ask another question, like we asked, this was on Reuters or somebody, and it was like, what do you think about the Biden administration's handling of Afghanistan? It was fucking 80% bad. Sure. Strongly disagree, okay? And if you go through and look at the data, instead of looking at the data and saying, 81 million people voted for Biden and you're the minority and you're alone and we censor your shit because it's all lies, and you actually look at the polls that are out there that are not direct questions, like Trump or Biden, right? Okay? And you look at how people feel about the issues, dude, it's 80-20, okay? 80% agree this shit is fucked up, 20% think it's okay. So when you're out there right now and you're thinking like you're all alone and no one else thinks like you and it's only the leaders who have this no. Most people that you're willing to talk to, even if they think they disagree, if you have a conversation, will actually find out that you are very much alike. My theory is, 10% on the left are morons. 10% on the far right are also morons. Yep. The 80% in the middle is what makes up what America is.
That's so true.
And so we have allowed this country to become completely binary, where it's this or that, or this or that, or this or that. When in reality, that's not how any of it works. It's the 80% in the middle that are like, hey, this shit is totally fucked up, that are actually the majority. They're the majority they talk about, it's us, it's the Americans, okay? It's the people who believe in the fundamental principles that this country was founded upon. The equality of all men, the equality of opportunity, work ethic, standing for certain values that represent, what we all believe in. Basically do the right fucking thing, okay? Treat your neighbor as you want to be treated. All of that shit, 80% of people agree with. Now, do we disagree on certain things sometimes? Sure, but that doesn't mean that you have to go all the way across or you're my enemy. And we have lost that in America right now. Yeah. We've lost it. Because social media has made it to where if you don't agree with me, you're my enemy. I'm going to put you on blast. I'm not going to have a conversation with you. I don't want to hang with you. Bro, some of the best conversations I have in my life are with people that don't necessarily agree with me.
Well, there's nothing better than sitting down with, because when two reasonable people get together, and they can completely disagree politically or whatever that might be, but when you get two reasonable people together, they're going to fit in that 80%, somewhere on that spectrum.
Well, dude, even the Trump people, okay, we talked about this. You mentioned about the vaccine with Trump. Everybody's like, yeah, fuck Trump because of his vaccine. Okay. Look where our country was when he was running it. Pre-2020, where was our country?
It was doing great.
It was fucking the best it's ever been.
Yep.
Cannot statistically argue it.
Yep.
Do you like what he says? Does he have an attitude? He sure does. Do you like everything he says? No, I don't. But the motherfucker knows how to run shit. Okay? That's a fact. He's run shit his whole life. And anybody who doesn't see the importance of that now is delusional. Okay? So you may not like that he's pro-vaccine, but let's consider what he is. He's an at-risk individual. He's high 70s, he's mid 70s, he's a little overweight. Yeah. Why wouldn't he be worried about that? You know, I don't understand how we as people can't like see that. And dude, it's just a product of this binary thought process. Oh, you either got to agree with everything someone says or they're a piece of shit. And guys, if that's the way you're going to live, you're going to be fucking miserable your whole life.
Yeah, no, it's so well said. And I try to tell people, it's like, they've done the news media has done a really good job of trying to divide everybody on every single issue, because the more conflict they can get, that's how they get there. I mean, you have to look at the media as not as a source of news, but as a business. Their entire job is to get you to go watch or read their thing. And so, unfortunately, they divide on every single issue. So what I always tell people is like, look, take every issue on itself, right? Take every single issue on itself. Like, there's certain issues that are far right that I'm more, passionate about. There's ones on the far left I'm passionate about. Yeah. I get in trouble both ways. And I think that's why people like me in my audience. I live in Utah, and I fight for LBGT quite a bit, and it pisses off a lot of times, different people that's not necessarily as popular.
I get it. Dude, I get the same shit because I say the same thing on my show. I'm like, look, I don't agree 100% with any of you motherfuckers, apparently. Because, dude, I get blasted by the conservatives and the fucking left. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm trying to fight for all you fuckers. You just don't get it yet.
Well, and I think that's what I love about you. It's what I love about, Joe Rogan does the same thing, right? It's like
he's really good at it.
You can take every issue and break it apart. It doesn't, quit pushing yourself to the right or the left. Yeah. I just say I'm a libertarian now because I don't want to see them fucking on the right or the left.
Man, those motherfuckers are crazy too.
I know,
the minute you say something that doesn't go along with them, they're coming at you. Like, dude, it's the binary thinking.
Well, it's like, I just don't want to be pigeoned on the right or the left.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what I'm going to start saying actually is that I'm an independent thinker.
Yeah.
Because I'm not affiliated with any political party. I can't even tell you who ran for the Libertarian president last time, But it's like,
I think it was Joe Jorgensen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But it's just like, so much of what I believe in is, it's like, if we can just come from curiosity, share love, freaking be a damn good person. And here's the part that people miss. Like, it's just really fun to be a good person. Like, wipe the pee off the seat if you piss on the seat. Like, pay for your neighbor's meal once in a while. Do these different things. It's just a fun way to live. Yeah. The feeling you get when you help other people, that's the real prize, man. That's where you get fulfilled. That's why you do these things. Like,
I think there's a karmic reality to that too. My personal
100%.
opinion.
Yeah, everything you throw out's coming back.
People, you can free to believe anything you want. This is America. I personally believe that I live like that. I know you live like that as well. All of our mutual friends, the friends that we share in common, they all live like that. Yep. Every single one of them. And what's the common denominator in every single one of them? They're all rich as fuck. Okay? And you know why they're rewarded? Because they do good shit. And I've never been more proud than my circle of friends ever in my life. Because they're all doing good work. They're all standing for the truth. They're all setting a good example. Do we all set perfect examples? No, we don't. Are we going to fuck up? Yes, we are. But you know what's cool about the people that we all know in common? Everybody gets that.
Yep. And we give space for each other.
Yeah.
We give space to not have to be perfect. You don't have to fuck. All you have to do is keep fucking trying to be a
you
good
call
person,
them up
right?
and say, hey, you all right, bro?
Yeah.
You're
there
hey,
for it. Yeah.
Keep your head up.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because, dude, that's what we need here, man. We need people to understand that everybody else out there that you think you hate, those are just people. Yeah. They have problems. They have bills. They have lives. They have stresses. They have real fucking problems. And dude, sometimes when people yell at you, they could be at the precipice of one of these problems, and you have to keep that in mind, dude.
We
need grace.
When people come at me, and I'm not perfect at this, sometimes I fire back, but I try so hard
sometimes you need to fire back.
Yeah, that's a good point. But, I was in a gas station not too long ago. It was actually about 6-8 months ago. And I'm on the phone call, and I turn around, this guy just looks me right in the face, because I don't have a mask on, and he goes, fuck you, motherfucker. Right to my face.
Yeah.
And normally I would get pissed, I'd get so mad. And I literally immediately went, God, this guy is in such a bad place that he thinks this is an okay way to treat a random stranger because I'm not wearing a mask. And I literally like had this moment of quick empathy because I normally would have gone off on the guy. And I just smiled and I said, I'm sorry that you feel that way. And I walked out. And it literally made my night. Like the rest of the night, I was like cloud nine because I'm like, God, I could have destroyed that guy. But then he would have gone home and probably yelled at his kids. And then
you just readjusted his perspective by taking a higher road. Now I am not advocating pacificity. Okay, make no mistakes. Sometimes you got to crush motherfuckers, and that's reality. Sometimes you got to step on a motherfucker's throat. That's the truth. Okay, but knowing when to give grace and knowing when to do that, I think is one of the most valuable things that you could know as a human.
Yeah, no, it's such a good point. Well, and again, it goes back to this, like when you're a strong man, like when you've done the work, and that's the cool thing at the beginning about 75 hard to kind of bring it all the way back to that, is like when you've gotten yourself to that place, if you do 75 hard for 75 days, you're going to have very few problems in your life right now because you're going to be dialed in. You're going to have a self-confidence. And this is one of the biggest problems I have with the whole like big government, I guess you could say, is they try to strip people of the self-confidence that can only come from accomplishing something that's hard. Like it's become popular not to do a hard thing. I don't know if you saw this. There was this ridiculous ad from like the Delaware Health Department that said like, it showed how many miles you have to run to lose 1 pound of fat.
I saw that.
And it said, wouldn't it be easier to just get the shot? I'm like, what the hell?
I saw that.
That was from a government agency.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've tried to trick society into thinking that it's supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole point of doing something hard is the feeling you get at the end of it. I climbed a mountain the other day. It's 18 miles in one day, up and down. It's the second biggest peak in my area. Yeah. I mean, I've been wanting to do it for my whole life. I did it, and I was done. By the time I got done with this,
I bet you were.
I was done. And the girl I was with, she's like, I don't understand. Like, we just went up and down. It was so hard. And I was like, yeah, but when the whole hike, I'm like, you're gonna feel so good. And we got to the end, and she goes, I've never felt so good. She goes, I don't ever want to do it again, but I feel so good. And it's like, yes, because you now know I can do some hard shit.
That's it.
And when you push yourself, that feeling you get. And so don't let people rob you of that, thinking that your path is supposed to be easy. Like, stay away from people trying to give you handouts or trying to make your path easier.
Right. You cannot be confident if you're not self-reliant. It's 100% requirement. Goggins talks about this. David Goggins is a good buddy of mine. And I call him a good buddy because he is a good buddy, and neither one of us have that many good buddies. That's the truth. Yeah. He talks about the cookie jar. He talks about, so what you just did was you put something in the cookie jar that you could go pull out later when things get hard. You could say, hey, you know what? This is a hard time right now, but I climbed that motherfucking mountain. I can do it again. And that's the same thing with accomplishing things like 75 hard or the whole Live Hard program, or running a marathon or a triathlon or any of these things, an Ironman. These things remind you in your hardest times that you are a capable human. And it's very important that you challenge yourself to become a person that achieves things, even if it's things that don't make sense to you, just so you can know later when things get tougher how capable you are. Because dude, as capable as I have built myself to be, there are still times where I'm down. There are still times when I question it. There are still times when I doubt it. And when I doubt that stuff, I pull out my phone, I look at the picture when I was 350 fucking pounds, and I go look in the mirror. And I'm like, no, bro, you got this. And it's a super powerful thing to have. And most people never get it because of exactly what you said. We live in a society that rewards mediocrity and encourages dependence.
Yes.
It encourages dependence. And people eat it up because it sounds good.
It sounds great. Everybody has money.
Let me get my check for $2,000. Blah, 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 blah. Well, is that check worth the rest of your internal value for the rest of your life? It's not. And that's what it will cost you. And people just don't realize that at the time.
When people don't understand that, like, you're very easily controlled if you rely upon somebody else.
Right.
One of the most empowering things I ever did in my life, when I was 21 years old, my dad was paying for my car, and he gave me a credit card for gas, and was paying for my lodging or whatever. And I started making pretty good money. I was selling meat door to door. I was making $500 a day selling meat door to door. And I walked in, I gave him the credit card and the keys and the phone that he'd given me. I said, Dad, I'm cutting myself off. Because he was trying to tell me what to do with my life. He's like, well, no, I paid for all your siblings. I'll pay for it. I said, no. I'm done. Like, I'm going to do this myself. And there were some struggles there, And I was like, well, but it was so empowering. And I just took control of my life in that moment. And the second you do that, it just changes your life. You're
How has that served you the rest of your life?
Oh, and here's the thing is, like, I'm never afraid now of not being able to support myself. I'm never afraid of what comes because I've done these hard things. Like, I've been the independent person, right? Like the second, and what else is a cool side product is it blows the doors off of your imagination. Because if I can make 150, 200 grand a year selling meat door to door, you know what I'm capable of doing? My worst case scenario, you're telling me my worst case scenario is I make 200 grand a year selling steak and chicken door to door.
That's pretty good.
I can open up my window of opportunity here. Like my mind started racing. That's what happened. I was 21 years old and holy shit. Because when you're a kid, you know, like when you're older, you want to have money, you want to be well off, but you don't know how it looks. You don't know if you're going to be able to do it. And all of a sudden, the day you go, holy shit, I'm the asset. I can make 200 grand a year selling meat. I'm going to go do some amazing things.
Bro, that's a great fucking thing to say. You are the asset. Dude, and as we've gotten older, tell me if I'm lying, bro. Do you not realize how school and the traditional education process makes us think that we're not supposed to do those things? Like I can look back on my education process, and there was a few key people that I will be indebted to till the day I die, but they are few and far between. The majority of time that I went through the regular education process, and I know a lot of my teachers listen to this, and it is what it is. I was told that I was incapable. I was told that I should be regular. I was told that my dreams were stupid by these people, okay? The system that we have is flawed because it does not encourage the actual potential of what humans have. It just doesn't. And I'm a walking, living example of that. I was told I was stupid. I was told I would never be shit. I was told I wasn't good enough, and I was told that for fucking 16 years, okay? It pisses me off to even talk about. But that chip that it put on my shoulder has served me. It has made me who I am. But that's because I had a good dad, and I had somebody to point that out to me. Most people don't. Most people go the rest of their lives thinking they are shit. They think that they're incapable. They think that they're supposed to go out and work for fucking 35 grand a year, 40 grand a year, and struggle their ass off. That is not what you were meant to do. You were meant to be great. There are things about you that are so powerful that you have suppressed because you were told to suppress them. And that's a big problem in America right now. You know, we want to break down the problems, and this is actually how I met Sean Whalen and some of the circle of our friends. I flew out to speak at Salt Lake City at Sundance, at Park City, to a group of veterans that were wanting to transition from active duty into entrepreneurship. And I was on the plane out there, and I started thinking about, because like, dude, at that time I was speaking a lot, and it was very frustrating sometimes because I would get up and I would talk. And I know people would walk out and not do anything, right? So like, dude, I'm a guy who wants to make a difference. Yeah. Like, I don't do this shit. Like, you guys who follow me, you know, or who don't know me, I don't do this shit because I got to do it. I definitely don't have to do it anymore. Yeah. I do it because I want to serve and I want people to have to see and learn and experience the things I have.
I always say I try to be the person that I needed when I was younger, right? Like freak, like I could have used this guy. Like,
yes,
I
100%. And that's what I try to be, because I realized that not everybody had people in their life to tell them that they could do these things, okay? So I try to give back in that way. On the plane ride out there, I was pissed off because I'm like, fuck this, because I don't like to travel that much. I'm a homebody. I'm like, dude, fuck this shit. I don't even want to do this, and I'm venting. I'm kind of a complainer, to be honest. I complain about a lot of stuff, I just don't ever quit. And so I'm bitching on the plane. We're on a private plane, there's like 6 other people there. And I'm fucking being loud, right? And I'm like, this is so fucking stupid. I don't know why I'm gonna go out here and do this. None of these guys are gonna do shit. And I'm gonna go up there, and I gotta travel, and I gotta do all these things. And I'm like, kind of like complaining. And I'm like, you know what we need? We need to write a fucking book for these kids when they're 10 years old. And then I thought about it, and I go, no, what we really need is children's books, dude, so that we can get these kids on the right path from the beginning. And it clicked for me. I'm like, holy shit, that is the problem. The problem is that the parents don't know what to teach the kids. They don't know. How can you expect a parent to know what to teach the kids if they never experienced it? Dude, there's millions of parents out there that want their kids to do better than them, but they don't know exactly how to do it. So what do? They give them to the system, and the system does what it does, right?
Dude, that's freaking deep.
Yeah, bro. So I wrote children's books. I started writing children's books. And we have, 7 or 8 books now. I know we have a series of 10 total that are coming out. But they're all about the values of, taking responsibility, being self-reliant, treating people right. All the lessons that we really need in society are in these books. And, they became bestsellers, and we sell a lot of them. They can be found on my personal website, not on Amazon. I don't work with them. But the point is that, dude, that's what we need. We need parents to take an interest in their kids' education more so than just handing them to the system. We cannot do that anymore because it's producing
kind of like
adults.
and you said something so important because I think there's two aspects. There's those that know and are just lazy or busy, right? And so they don't do it. And then there's those that just don't know. And so I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, they were telling a story about somebody had kind of helped their kid had made like 20 grand more than they did for their living, and they were up to like 50 grand for the year. It was just you're eking by, right? You're below the average of how much you should be making or whatever. And they were talking about was like that to that person, they don't even know what it looks like. They don't even know.
That's what I'm saying.
Like they don't even know how little that is. And so it's like they want their kids to just do a little better, right?
Yeah.
Well, hey, they're doing better than I did, and so that's like to them that's success. But it's like it's so important. It's like we got to teach people the principles. And as you said those principles, it was funny like the things that you got to teach as kids, because every one of those that you said, I was thinking of the people that taught me when I was little, because I learned those things. I was lucky enough to have leaders and community. Right. Honestly, it was neighbors and community members, church members that cared enough about me. Like I was a little shit.
Yeah.
I look at it now and I just laugh. I'm like, man, they had to deal with me at that age, and they just cared and they taught me things, and I'm so grateful for those people because those were adults that made a freaking difference. Well, dude, I want to get you out of here on time. I appreciate you giving me some time.
Bro, this is awesome.
So fun, man. And for people that, pretty much everybody in my audience, I'm assuming probably at least knows of you, but if people want to listen to your podcast, want to find more about you, what's the best place to send them to?
Yeah, so my podcast is called Real AF, and it's in the business category wherever you find podcasts. It's one of the top podcasts in the world. I do most of my content on there these days. I do have Instagram. I use it rarely. I do have YouTube. We just kind of started that. But it's Andy Frisella everywhere. It's Andy Frisella on Instagram. It's Real AF on iTunes or Spotify or whatever it is. And that's where I put most of my content. I just want to say, man, I appreciate you coming out here and wanting to do this interview. You know what I mean? Like you hopped on a plane, you came out, you're flying back right after this.
It matters to me, man.
Dude, it matters to me too, and I can tell. And I just want to say to your listeners, guys, you are not alone. Okay, they are making you feel alone. They are making you feel like you're going to get all this hate. I have met some of the greatest people. I'm sitting here with Jimmy through my opinions, through my views, through my boldness. All right, and you will too. Okay, the thing about riding the fence that creates the problem in your life is that you guys are going to constantly be fighting with people that you have a propensity to not even like anyway. And you're gonna carve your messages and edit yourself and become this slave to everybody's opinion. There is nothing more freeing and more liberating than to be who you actually are. And I promise you 1,000% that when you stand up and you start to say, hey, this isn't right. Hey, I don't believe in this. You will be showered with so much positive reinforcement because people are starving for leaders right now. You don't have to have 1 million followers. You don't have to have 100 followers. You have to lead your household. You have to lead your community, get involved, be the example, and you will see your life dramatically change. Do not buy into this concept that you are alone. You are not alone. Okay? I'm just telling you, I see it every day. The best thing I ever did was to rid myself of the people who caused me anxiety because I was trying to edit myself on every little message to accommodate that one guy. Hey, you know what? That guy doesn't like me. Cool. I'm going to talk to the people that do. And that's what you guys should be doing too.
Amen, brother. Thank you so much, Andy. This has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
All righty.